Every phase of our life gives us a new identity. A daughter, a student, a colleague, a manager, a leader. And somewhere along the journey, these titles become so much a part of us that we begin to believe that they define us. But what happens when the music stops and these titles are no longer there? What are we beyond our business card? What are we beyond our designation? What are we beyond the company that we work for? Today's guest has spent over 2 decades helping people answer these exact questions. She has guided professionals, leaders, and organizations and taken them through a journey of self-discovery. She reminds us that the greatest leadership journeys are not the one about leading others, it's about leading our own selves. Joining us today is an exec coach, a leadership facilitator, and someone who believes that true success is not measured by the number of positions we hold, but by the number of lives that we impact. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Namita Kutty. Namita, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Aparna. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you. And what a pleasure it is to be in this wonderful place of yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, it's my pleasure. It's going to be a brilliant conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure.
Welcome
Thank
to the
you
show.
so much. Thank you.
So, Namita, let's go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
So, you entered into the corporate world. You were very new.
Yeah.
At that point of time, what did you think that you were going to become? And look at you, the fine woman that you are, sitting on the other side of me. Tell me how the transformation happened and what you thought that you would become. Is it exactly what you were, or have you outgrown that?
What a lovely question. And this really made me pause and think for a bit, because I don't think anyone's asked me this question. And the short answer is no. I do not think this is where I would ever be. I loved being in the corporate. I was very goal oriented, so it was always by 30 I will be an AVP. By 32, 33 I need to be a head of HR. Then I need to be the head of HR of a larger corporation. It was titles, it was designations, and they all seemed like great milestones that I kept hitting. But I think somewhere on the way, something changed for me. After about 15 performance and talent management cycles of deciding who gets promoted, who doesn't, I started to look at my role a little differently. I always thought my job was to make sure that, the organization gets better systems, better processes, better procedures, try and impact the culture. But I realized I can't do that without impacting people. And it had to be one person at a time. It had to be journeys that I lead a person or a group of people through. For me, I am what I call a maximizer. I'm obsessed with what makes some people succeed wildly and other people not so much.
Even when they work quite the same, right?
Even when they work maybe twice as hard. But there's something that in my mind I feel, people are missing. And for me, the answer lies in the intersection of neuroscience and psychology. And that started to be a rabbit hole that I started digging into. And somewhere down the line, it even became a little personal. It started becoming about women, right? I really wanted to try and understand how can I get women from good to great, right? Because I see so many women who are extremely capable, so wonderful at what they do, but you know what? They don't put up their hand for their promotion. They don't want to take the bigger role. They don't claim the ideas that they worked all night and carefully handed it over to the next colleague. They don't stand up for themselves when somebody, belittles them maybe. And I started to wonder why that was the case. I realized that for me, I had an aha moment when I was conducting a leadership session where this was at a consulting conglomerate, and one of the participants, I still remember her name was Prabha, she said, Namita, why don't you do this exercise with us? It was a simple exercise on strategic thinking. You had to write a newspaper article on what you would do. If a newspaper article was written about you 5 years from now, what would it say?
Very interesting.
Right? It's a simple article. And I'm like, okay, fine, let me do this. I've done this so many times. I sat down. And then suddenly it was like I got an electric shock, because for me, I realized I want to find an authentic model for Indian women to lead authentically in corporates.
Beautiful.
Most of the leadership models, Aparna, you will be shocked to find are all based on the Western cis male. I'm certified in so many of these assessments. I'm certified in Hogan, Enneagram, Gallup, Belbin, DISC, you name it, I've probably done it. But they're all based on the Western cis male. And if a woman in corporate India decides to lead the way that a Western man would, we all know what they're going to call us. And no, I cannot take that word on a podcast, right? So I think for me, trying to get women back their sense of agency. And by agency, I mean a sense of ownership of their lives, being in the driver's seat of their lives. That is a mission that I realized that I want to work towards.
Beautiful mission, beautiful mission. And when was this?
This was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I've found some beautiful people on this journey who've been working alongside me. So that is something that I'm very passionate about. We've also written a book, Shreya, my good friend Shreya Krishnan, she and I've written a book. We've authored a book called Audacious Her, which we are hoping is going to help Indian women understand the kind of, rules that we are all bound by. And if I can get one woman to stop shrinking and start owning her space, I think my job is done.
And thank you for sharing this beautiful copy. It's a limited edition right now, right?
Yeah, this is an advanced reader's copy.
So Namita and Shreya have co-authored this book, Audacious Her. And I love the opening. This particular line really caught my attention. Somewhere in the midst of it all, we risk becoming side characters in the most important story of all, our own lives.
Yeah.
Right? Very, very nice.
Thank
so
you.
I'm looking forward to reading this book.
Thank you so much. And I've been coaching so many women leaders, and I had women who came up to me and said, Namita, I know what my 3 children want. I know what my father-in-law, mother-in-law want. I know what they like. I no longer know what I like. I don't know what my tastes are. If you ask me, do I like this food? Do I like to go out to this particular event? I don't know. And that broke me just a little.
So let's talk about the cause, right?
Yeah.
So society has conditioned us to be that way. And slowly, that paradigm is shifting, right? So other than society, what other factors have really shaped us, Indian women to be the way we are right now?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question, because that is a rabbit hole that I think I've spent the last 3 years exploring.
And how do we come out of it guilt-free?
Yes, yes. I think that's such an important question. So if you ask me, I call it the good girl rules.
Good girl rules. Okay.
Right? All of us have been brought up with these cultural injunctions. And by injunction, I mean early messages that nobody's told us. Nobody's really sat down and said, hey, Aparna, you cannot do this.
True. But we see our moms, we see our aunts.
And it's slowly filtered down. Don't take up space. Don't speak your mind. Don't be too much.
Sit like this.
Sit like this, right? A lady crosses her legs and sits. You're not going to sprawl and sit the way a man does, right? Don't say no. These are injunctions that have slowly crept into our consciousness, and they framed what I call the good girl rules. So these are things that kept us safe when we were maybe 7, 8, 9, chalo, even 10 years old. But when such a woman comes into the corporate, or she wants to be a founder, what happens? They act against her. She can't ask for a promotion. She can't claim for the work that's hers. She can't push back on work. And I have burnt out. I've burnt out multiple times because I just have a chronic inability as a child to say no. It's been drilled down into me that you cannot say no when your elders ask you. So when I go to the corporate and the boss says, can you do this? Yes, I can, because I do a good job. So, I would just get, so many things added, and then boom, I'm sick because I physically have burnt out.
True.
Right? So I think for me, it's about dismantling those good girl rules. First, identifying what are the good girl rules that are governing your behavior, right? For me, I realized it's do not say no, right? Good girls adjust, right? So you're in a group and, oh, this is one of my favorite, good girls adjust. You're in a group and, everyone wants something, you'll be like, okay.
And there's limited quantity of something, you say, okay, I'll not have it, the others can have it.
Good girls eat last, right?
True.
So I think one, identify for yourself what are those good girl rules. Write it down and write the opposite of it. Write what you want to happen. It's not good girls can't say no. It is I can say no if I have to, if I want to, if I need to. I can say no. You need to then write the contrary to that. Write it for yourself. Practice. I'm a huge habit and I use this in all my workshops. You call it tiny habits. It's as simple as this. In a week, once, can you say no to one thing you would have normally said yes? Once a week, once you just say no. And the idea is to say that you build that slowly. It's once a week or something.
That's such a simple and easy to apply tip.
But you're using the power of neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Neurons that fire together, wire together.
Correct.
The more you do something, the more the neurons between that, your synapses get strengthened, you can actually start to say no. So you say no once today. Practice that over a week. The next week you say no twice. The third time you really try and see, okay, are there other extra
and then it comes naturally.
And then it will come naturally to you, right? And I've started practicing that to an extent that people are like, wow, Namita, you can say no so confidently. And I'm like, no, I can't. I really struggle to say no. But now I realize it's also once you hit the magic number of 40, I think. I think the day I hit 40, I'm like, oh, I can say
40,
no.
fab and fearless.
Wonderful. I love it. 40, fab and fearless. It's going to be my new tagline.
I just made it up.
I love it. So, yeah. I also think that there's a second thing that comes in. So one is your cultural injunctions. Two,
Yes.
I also feel all of us have, because of these injunctions, we have a little gremlin in our head. So the gremlin is like this little voice that tells you every time you're about to take a big step, you're going to fail. Like, for instance, the day that you decided that, you and your sister want to open Shobhitam, that's such a huge step. You were in Silicon Valley. For you to take such a step might have been unfathomable to a lot of people. But maybe there was a little, gremlin or kida or whatever in your brain that says, no, Aparna, you're happy, you're safe, you're doing good, don't do this. Right? So I want women to also identify that little gremlin there might have kept you safe once upon a time. It's not helpful. So, we do workshops where we help women even draw out those gremlins. How does it look like? Where did you first hear it? Who told you that? Like, where did it start from? My gremlin looks like a 60-year-old woman who tells me, Namita, if it's not going to be perfect, don't even try it.
Okay.
Right? So
we want to play safe all the time.
Yeah, play safe. And also, I get stuck in perfection. I will keep polishing till it's perfect. But then now as a founder, I realize it's, progress over perfection. I'm never going to ship out a product, right? If I go on waiting for it to be perfect. So instead of a gremlin, right, if you're seeing this and you're thinking about what I do about my gremlin, yes, I have it. If you have identified, I want you to think about taking that little gremlin, putting it into a tiny box, and imagine it getting smaller and smaller and smaller till it bursts. Poof.
So nice.
Right? And instead of that, start getting a nurturing voice in your head. Maybe a guardian, somebody who you really
beautifully replaced.
Yeah, somebody whose voice, someone who's always believed in you. For me, it's my grandmother. She's someone who's always believed in me, always had my back. So every time I hear that little gremlin going, yeah, you can't do it, I think of her and I'm like, nope, you know what? Yes, I can. Right? So for me, I think it's about two things. How do you rewrite the good girl rules? And two, how do you try and banish the little gremlin that comes up in so many ways for so many of us?
Two very, very beautiful tips. And I'm sure, everybody's watching. It's very easy to implement too, right?
Yeah.
It's not very difficult.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Something that happens all the time.
It happens all the time. And different people have different gremlins. Some of them will be judging you. Some of them will criticize. Some of them will say you are not of worth. And for a lot of women, I found the gremlin was, Aparna, if you're not of service to others, you are worthless. And I've had so many women tell me those exact words that my mother has told me. unless, anything that I do is for my husband or my in-laws or my children, you're selfish. So a simple act like buying a sari for herself, she would feel so guilty.
True.
Because it's not for anybody else, it's for herself. But then what happens is that you lose your identity, you lose your sense of agency. And I keep coming back to that word agency because it is like ownership of your life, right?
And I liked what you said. You're really taking people through a journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, of drawing that little gremlin, imagining it getting smaller by the day, and not just that, replacing it.
Yes.
Right? So taking off the negative, putting in the positive. Beautiful. I'm sure, there are other wonderful things that you're doing as part of this.
We try.
So your journey has taken you through organizations like Deutsche Bank, Target, Odessa, and now Growth Collective. Looking back, was there a defining moment when success stopped? You just mentioned about it. And then you said, it's going to be about creating impact. What is that like?
Yeah, I think that's such a good question. And I think it was in bits and bobs, right? It was the early seeds were, and I cringe if I tell anybody this story, and I've never really told too many people. But I think for me, the seed was laid when I was asked to head up diversity for an investment bank. And I said no. I was young and not very intelligent, clearly, so please pardon me. And I said no because I thought in my entire naivety that men and women are the same. And I went to the global head of HR and I said, no, I don't want this role because men and women are the same. I came here on my own merit. So can other women. And he said, no, just try it for a year. Right? He cajoled me. He said, you know what? You don't like it after a year? We'll get you back to, core HR. It's absolutely fine. Just try it out. And I tried it out. And Aparna, it was eye-changing. It was life-changing for me. Right? Because suddenly I realized that I was aware of the amount of privilege I came from. My father is an IS officer, and I'm so grateful for him because he raised me and my sister in a way that he had 2 daughters. I didn't grow up thinking I was any different from the boys or there's something I can do or, they can't do. So I began to realize it's not the same for a lot of women, right?
Very true, very true.
It is not. Right?
It is not.
And also the fact that most women do 3 shifts a day. I didn't realize that. You do a shift before you come to office, you get everything ready, you wake up at 5 in the morning, you let your child go. And honestly, CEOs, I know women CEOs who get up at 5 in the morning and cook for their child and, send the child off, send the husband off, then come to work. That's your second shift. Then go back and make hot chapatis for your husband in the night. That is 3 shifts in a day.
And even if women are not cooking, the burden of taking care is still there, right?
Yes, absolutely. Even if you're not cooking, absolutely. And Vidya Balan, who is your ambassador, put it so beautifully. She said the cook will never ask my husband who's having a cup of coffee there about anything. Even if I'm busy working, they will always come to you. And that was such a beautiful home truth bomb that she has shared, right? Because it is true. The burden of managing everything is on you. The burden and your child. And I realized that the hard way as soon as I became a mom. I was like, whoa, women and men are not the same. So, I stand completely corrected. I stand humbled because I really realized that women and men have very different journeys. And it's almost impossible to compare because Olivia Pope said this in a show called Scandal, but she said this line that stayed with me. She said, we have to do twice as much for half as much. We
Very
have
well
to
said.
do twice as much for half as much. Because it is true. To be taken seriously as a woman founder, you have to do 2x more. To be taken seriously as a C-level candidate, you have to prove yourself over and over and again.
True.
And I've had men say the same thing. I've had men tell me, oh, you know what? I know that they judge my women colleagues so much more. I can get away with all these mistakes. Nobody will even touch me. But my woman colleague, she'll be put down. Because women face a double bind, right? Women face a double bind where to be a leader, you need to be assertive, you need to be independent, you need to be goal-oriented, you need to be authoritative, right?
And then she's labeled.
And then she's labeled. That's agentic. And the moment you are that way, you're going to be labeled. But if you're warm and nice and kind, people will walk all over you. So it's almost a no-win. And that's why, I'm working with Shreya and some of my wonderful colleagues, Seema and Jay and Arpan, to create what we call the Brain 360. So the Brain 360 is just a way of, leading, which is built on Indian values, Indian scenarios, Indian corporates, where you can lead authentically, right? Where you shows you a path of how do you lead under pressure, with or without your title.
And I think that's much needed because, everything out there is actually based on Western principles, which really don't fit the Indian person.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. They don't fit us. We don't relate to that. A woman in India cannot lead the way a man in the West does,
Very true.
unfortunately, right? So we have gone back to our roots. We're looking at the Panchabhutas that Ayurveda has given us to say, there are 4 different archetypes, maybe. You lead like a fire leader. Some of them are like fire. You are very bold, you're visionary, you're action oriented, you're let's go energy. So people lead like water. You're warm, you're inclusive, you're nurturing.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Right.
love it. Okay.
Some people lead like wind, like for you, Aparna ma'am. Maybe, you have so much of creativity, you have strategic thinking, you're a founder multiple times over. That's strategic thinking, right? Some people lead like earth, which is, processes, procedures, stability, grounding, right? So we've gone back to our roots and we're saying underlying all of this is Akasha. Akasha is your situation. So lead depending on the situation, right? For instance, I can see a lot of fire energy in you, right? You want to go, you want to make things happen. I've seen you on your shows, right? You have so much fire energy, but you're also, I can see the water in the way sometimes you address even a no. Even your no is so kind. That's a beautiful skill set to have. Just look at the way she says a no. You smile so beautifully. You're so kind. You try and understand the person before you say a no, right? So that is such a beautiful way for me that I see you adjusting the elements that you have. And obviously, all of this you built would not be possible without your earth energy, right? Building it, just sustaining it. So I think we all have the power to choose, right? And in between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is your power. So rather than just reacting or, going ahead with a Western model of saying, okay, that is how I want to be, what I try and get women in India to do is lead authentically, lead in the way that is natural to you and the elements natural to you. But also like how beautifully Aparna ma'am balances those elements, also look to see how can you use the right element at the right time.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, there were so many takeaways from what you said, just this one response. I like the analogy of our 5 elements. But what's really going to stay with me is what you just said. There's a space between stimulus and response, and that space is your power. And
that I did not say that, but that is a older saying, of course. But I love that saying.
No, it's very, very, very profound if you actually think about it.
Yes, because I tend, especially under pressure, we tend to react, right? And the ability to take that pause before we react, I think, is everything. Like when I watch your shows, you don't just tell them, oh, this is a stupid idea. What do you think? I see you take a pause. I see you smile. I see you frame a beautiful response about what moved you. I also like one other beautiful thing about what you shared in one of your podcasts, where you said, you don't just look at, Aparna said, she doesn't just look at 80 slides of a founder. She looks at how they make her feel. And that I think is so beautiful.
At the end of the day, it's all about that. How does the other person actually make you feel?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Do you feel seen? And I think that is the greatest gift you can give somebody. How do you make them feel seen? Right? I see you doing that. I want to be able to do that too. Right? A lot of the work that I do is try to help women see themselves not just as what they think other people will look at them as, right? But also what they want to be seen as. And that's a wonderful gift you give.
Beautiful, beautiful. This is really going to stay with me. So while reading about your journey, there's something that really stayed with me. They're like, people no longer call you Namita. They call you Director, HR Target.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So,
At one point of time. Yeah.
and a lot of professionals experience this, right? So, how do we actually build a larger identity that
Yes.
stays with us always,
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely. You will not believe, Aparna, the number of men and women who come to me because they've lost their jobs, because they've, been laid off. There's been a restructuring email that just came out of the blue, completely unexpected.
And that's happening a lot lately,
It's
right?
happening a lot, and they no longer know who they are. They come to me and they're like, I don't know who I am anymore. And I went through that as well. I was with an American retailer. I was director HR with them, and my phone would be buzzing with people who are like, please come and talk at this conference. Please come to this roundtable. Come to this panel discussion. And I quit, during COVID, and suddenly those calls stopped, and a lot of them stopped picking my calls. Okay, and it's a brutal fall, right? Because suddenly I'm like, oh, they're not picking my calls, and I realized that sometimes our identity is so tied to that designation because it's almost like we look at our identity based on what other people see us as, right? And it's like the theory in psychology which says it's like the looking glass theory, right? We look at the mirror, we see somebody. That somebody for me at that point of time was director HR. And when the director HR, because I thought that's what everyone was seeing, but when the director HR title was suddenly removed, it's almost like a sense of vertigo. You don't know who you are anymore, right? But
It's
I realized
emptiness,
it's
right?
empty. It's empty. But I started to then realize that, as I started working, that I look at identity now very differently. And in this world, I would honestly love for men and women to look at it, especially women, where I like to think of identity as something that one of your beautiful master weavers at Shobitham would weave a sari, right? A sari that your master weaver is weaving that connects threads of who you were yesterday, who you are today, and who you are becoming tomorrow.
Beautiful, very
Right?
well said.
Life gives you some threads. Some threads you choose. You can't always choose your threads, but you can choose the motives. Right? I've walked around Shobitham today and I can see some of the most beautiful, magnificent motives. So if when you look at your life and your identity as a weaver, you can choose those motives. You can choose what those motives look like with the threads that you have and the threads that you pull together for yourself. You can choose that. Your designation then becomes, well, a very pretty tassel like the ones that you have.
Oh my goodness. You're a wonderful speaker. You connect the dots so well.
So it is, you're right, the tassel is like the finishing of a sari. But if a tassel falls off, my friend, you can replace the tassel. Your entire sari is not ruined. Right now, the way that we look at a designation is like such an intrinsic part of the sari that if the designation is pulled off, you feel your entire sari is ruined and you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I don't want this sari anymore. But it's not, right? You spoke about this, how, you make people feel. Your identity is not just a designation, it's about how you make people feel around you. It's about who you are under pressure. It's about what you're doing for people, what you're doing for yourself. And that for me leads me to believe if I had one small practical advice to women, it would be to find something, anything that is yours.
Okay.
Right? A lot of us are so busy being a good mother, being a good, wife, being a good daughter. We forget that there's also a life that we're living for ourselves. A lot of women have come to me, typically over the age of 40, where they're like, oops, children are grown up, now we don't quite know what to do with ourselves.
Right. It's just vacuum.
It's a vacuum, right? So do something. It could be baking, it could be dancing, it could be a passion for saris, it could be a passion for photography, it could be working in impact, it could be volunteering. For me personally, it is writing and it is my work that I do with women, right? That is mine. And that identity is mine. No organization has given it to me. No organization can take it away. The sari that you get here from weavers directly is not something that was boom just manufactured. It's a master weaver who sat there and pulled those threads together, wove it together. And that's what I want women to understand, that your identity is like that sari, right? Some threads you get, some threads you inherit, but weave them in a pattern of your choice.
Beautiful analogy, and I like what you said. There are some things that you can control, some things that you cannot, but take charge of the ones that you can.
Yeah.
And weave your destiny with you.
Absolutely. How do you weave your destiny through it? Right? Life is unexpected. We can't control everything. Life gives us your family, but you can choose your friends. You can choose your business partners to a certain extent.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love it.
Thank you.
So that brings me to another question.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to become a leader, right? But very few stop and ask, would I want that to work for me? Right?
Yeah.
So in your opinion,
Yeah.
what separates a leader, okay, from choosing to follow from what they simply report for, right? How do I become the leader that you aspire, that others aspire to be?
What a cool question, because we always think about the other way around. As if, first time I think someone's asked me this question, I love it. Short answer, be the boss you wish you had. Right? Because, when you have a boss, you're always complaining that, your boss did this and your boss did that. First of all, be the boss you wish you had. But if you were to ask me, in my humble opinion, I would say a boss, a great boss or a leader is somebody who gets the best out of you, not the most. You're not a nimbuki, you nichoro every last drop.
Very well said. Very well
You
said.
would choose from the person. But how do you get the best out of that person? Right? How do you genuinely find out what is this person so good at? What is his or her distinctive strength? What does he or she bring to the workplace that others don't have? Right? If you're interested, it's a beautiful book called Disrupt Yourself by Whitney Johnson, and she speaks about distinctive strength, where you help the person really be the best version that they can be of themselves. And I was lucky early on in my career. I had amazing bosses. I had some really amazing bosses. I was a young management trainee. I joined this company, my very first company, and they realized that I was very creative. I was great with communications. I was great with marketing. Obviously, I'm passionate about HR, so I am in HR, but I also like building HR products. And they built my role around me. So they gave me HR projects. They gave me projects where I could build HR products. I could work with the communications marketing team to take care of the entire branding for the HR team. They also realized that I was terrible at day-to-day transactions.
Okay.
Okay. And they gave me a team to handle that. Right? They said, okay, we'll give you a team to handle it, and it worked brilliantly. I was probably one of the youngest to be entrusted with the team. But I was able to do so much more because my bosses realized, okay, she brings something different. She may not be, great at transactions. It's clearly not a strength for her. But let's focus and build on what those strengths are. And I still call them up and I thank them to date, because that built me in who I am today. Today, I can release a product into the market because of what I learned when I was very young. So I think a leader who does that, who sees a version of that person that they didn't even know existed, that's the kind of leader I think you want to be.
And like you rightly said, when in dilemma, put yourselves, in the shoes of the other person.
Yeah.
Be the leader that, you would want.
You would want to
have.
work with.
Yeah. So I've also been very blessed with the right managers. And I think that has played its part.
Lovely.
Right? Because whenever somebody reaches out to me, I feel like I need to put myself in their shoes. And when you do that, they know that, she's not the person who's here just to get work done out of you. She's there vested in their success.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. I think when people see that you are invested in their success, the entire game changes, right? It really does for them. Yeah, it's a beautiful point.
So, Namita, tell me this. You've spent over 2 decades, coaching so many leaders out there. Has there ever been a time when somebody walked up to you and they said they needed help with their career, but it was actually something else? They needed help with themselves.
Oh yeah, so many times, Aparna. Because I think people come to me typically with very, CV related queries. I want to get promoted. I want a pay hike. I want a bigger job. I want a better job. I want to get out of the country, whatever. But when you start working almost about half an hour into the conversation, for a lot of them, you realize that there is nobody blocking them except themselves. Right? And I can give you some examples. I had this fantastic Korean American lady who I was working with. She was hands down the smartest woman in the room, hands down. But when she would give a suggestion and she would put up her inputs, it would always be shot down.
Okay.
And because of that, she could never get her ideas through. She wasn't getting promoted, and she was frustrated when she came to me. And she came to me and she was ranting, saying, everybody is against me. And I said, okay, let's talk about this. Who is this everybody? And why are they against you? What transpired and what we realized is that she has an ability to build deep relationships. She's what you call a relator. She can build really deep relationships with people, but she didn't believe in doing that at work.
Okay.
She distrusted and mistrusted everybody. So then automatically she decided that everyone's against her. And I helped her understand that, hey, you do need to network a bit, right? You need to be vulnerable. You need to build those connects, build those bonds, be invested in your peers' success and not just your own. The moment you are, like you said, equally invested in your peers' success, they will also move mountains for you, right? And she said she wasn't very convinced about it. I said, you try it. Just try it.
Okay.
And then, 1 month later, she came on. She was like, you will not believe this. I said, what? I put up this proposal and these two people fought for me and, they got it through. And within 3 months, she actually got promoted. Right? Because there was literally nobody standing in way of her success but herself. And I can tell you so many stories because a lot of times, when we think the entire world is against us, sometimes it's us in our own way. And it's conditioning. Right? A lot of it is conditioning. It is good girl rules. It is, gremlins that are in our mind saying, oh my God, if you try and be nice to them, they're going to take advantage of you. So you have to sort of let go of those gremlins. I had to really work hard to convince her that, everyone's not out to get you. Right? So, yeah, there have been quite a few situations where you have to work on yourself. It could be trust issues, it could be networking, it could be a bad experience in one company that has led you to believe that politics is the only way to go ahead, right? So you really need to work to understand fundamentally behind all of that facades that you put out into the world, what are the couple of things that are drawing you back?
And it's best to start early, right? There's no need to wait.
There's no need to wait till it gets us. Yeah.
But I think there is a transformation that happens maybe after 35, 40, right? When people tend to be more self-aware,
Yes,
right? The
absolutely.
self-introspection starts kicking in more than ever before.
Absolutely. Most of the work I do is mid to senior leader. So if you ask me what is my clientele like, it's typically women and men from about 35 all the way up to 58. I have a gentleman who is 58 years old and he says, I have maybe 2 years before my retirement, but I still want to work. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Why not? Let's go. So, yeah.
Yeah. And as lifespan is expanding, people are like, they're not ready to quit.
Yeah, people don't want to quit. I know so many women who are retired and they're starting up businesses at 60. They're starting, different, various, fantastic businesses. And, like I have a business head who was my business head way back in the day. And I think she has more energy now. She had a lot of energy then, but I'm like, wow, how much energy? How many boards are you on now? Right? So I think, the workplace is also changing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this book.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure as you're writing, you're learning more, you're discovering more. So you've co-authored this book, Audacious Her, with Shreya. So while doing this, did you ever feel that, women today are exceptionally capable, right? They've always been, but, there are more avenues to actually recognize that now. So did you ever feel that women had to prove themselves over and over again? And why does that happen?
Yeah, it's the saddest part, but I do feel women have to prove themselves over and over again because the system and the structure around us, we are playing by rules that were never, if in a game that was never designed for us, right?
Very true.
I wrote Audacious Her because I realized that in a company, you can only change so much, right? You have to get out there and you have to talk to women who are living this daily, helping them understand that, hey, the rules are rigged against you. Sorry, the rules are not for you.
True.
Right? You need to have a sense of agency in your life. You need to take ownership in your life. Right? People judge women harshly, and it is like they said, right? You need to be twice as good for half as much, because the moment you enter a workforce and you become a mother, people will just take you off the board for promotions.
True.
People will take you off the board for larger opportunities. It's happened to me. The day that I was told that, that I'm going to get promoted, the day I announced my pregnancy in office, I said, "Oh, you're pregnant. Good God." And it was almost like I caught some disease. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pregnant." "Don't worry about your promotion at all. We'll push it off for a couple of years." And I'm like, "I'm ready." I am pregnant. I'm not sick. I am happy to be promoted. Right? But they thought they were doing me a favor. Right? They actually thought they're doing me a big favor by saying, "Don't worry." But I'm still ambitious. I am pregnant. I am not sick. Right? I've been told in interviews that, "Oh, but you know what? You might have to go home if your child is sick because you're a new mom." And my answer was yes, but if your child is sick, would you not, as a father, also go home? Why would you assume that, right? So I think there are a lot of, unfortunately, biases that are already stacked up against women, right? And it doesn't help us when we have a script that we keep following in our own heads that tell us that, put your parents above, parents' needs in front of you, your husband, child, in-laws, friends, family, what have you, to an extent that you don't know what you want anymore.
True.
Right? And that's why I said in the book that by about for your 40s, you might 35, 40, you might suddenly wake up and say, "Whoa, I seem to be a side character in my own life." Right? So for me, the path to that is, one, understand that you being governed by a set of rules that were never yours to begin with. We are always, as women, waiting for permission. We want to be 100% before we put up our hands for that promotion. It doesn't have to be. My request is, even if you're 60% there, please put up your hands. A man will put up his hand, mind you, even if he's 30% there, he'll be like, "Boss, I am the best person for this job. You cannot get anybody better."
True.
But a woman,
We underplay ourselves.
we underplay
big time.
ourselves, right? We're overqualified and underconfident, right? Because we have this image that girls, we have to be perfect, right? We have so many expectations. So it's playing in a game that the rules were not designed for. So first we need to dismantle our own rules, and then we need to see, how do you take that sense of agency back into the field? How do you get that sense of ownership for yourself?
And I think we women have to back other women, right? When we see one woman do it in our community, we say, "Okay, she's doing this guilt-free. She's able to carve out time for herself. Maybe I can do it too. Let me try this." Right? So I had to, deliver a talk 2 days back. And I was thinking about it the previous night. And this was a community of women. And also I was thinking, the analogy of a seed came to my mind. Right? So we are like seeds. Right? The entire blueprint of a huge tree is within us. Right? But what is lacking? The belief, right? That we can do it. What is lacking? We tend to overburden ourselves. Right? But when women back each other, that is the support, that is the water, that is the nurturing that we get. And we bloom.
Absolutely. What a beautiful analogy. Because I love women like you, right? Who could not just collaborate with other women, but celebrate other women.
We have to.
Right? We have this script given to us, which was not ours, that women compete. I honestly believe, hand to heart, strong women don't compete.
Strong women don't compete.
Strong women do not compete. We collaborate. We celebrate other women. Right? And that's why I love even the word of Naarishakti. Right? I love that word so much. What a beautiful name your podcast has. Because you are celebrating other women. Right? Because it's almost like the brain doesn't know it's possible till it sees it's done, till it sees proof. What you're giving in the Nari Shakti podcast is examples of women who've done that, right? And that gives everyone hope, because you're like, oh, like you said, exactly what you said. When you see a woman do it, you're like, oh, the brain gets proof that it can be done.
Exactly.
Right. Then
and again, the neuroplasticity, right? You try it
Yes.
once and then two women are doing, okay, maybe they are doing it. Maybe
Yeah.
it's time for me to try. Right?
And time to do it guilt free. You're so right. Like I have, I have a CEO friend of mine who travels, and obviously she has to travel. She has to go to, Europe and America at odd times, and, longer times. And she spends half her time feeling so guilty about it. She's like, oh my God, I'm not there for my children. And, who will wake up in the morning and give them this? And I'm like, whoa, you need to give yourself a chill pill. You have a cook. Your husband's at home. Your kids are going to be fine. But you are not going to be fine if you keep stressing about this.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we women are like the queens of multitasking,
Yeah.
right? Long before the word was even conjured.
Yeah.
How many of us have like carried a kid on one hip and grocery bags on the other, right? Effortlessly.
Yeah.
Effortlessly.
You have a child on one hip, you have a child bawling, and you're on a very composed Zoom call. On the other hand, you're like, yes, everything is fine. I might need to mute it for a second, but
Right.
everything is fine.
Right.
And honestly, I don't like that word superwoman. I just don't, because I feel it's a shackle that we're putting on ourselves. Yes, we get this fancy logo maybe saying superwoman, but the burden of carrying that is immense. Right? Sure, you can be a brilliant mother or a brilliant corporate, person or an entrepreneur, but the toll of that on your own health, oh my gosh, it's not going to be pretty. And a lot of high flying, extremely successful women, I ask them this one question, and you'll be shocked at how many of them don't have a response. I ask them a very simple question. What is the one thing in your entire week that you do for yourself? And they look at me and they're like, what do you mean? I said, just one thing. Like, is there like half an hour that you have to yourself, that you do something that you're doing only for yourself? And they don't have an answer. Right? And very often, my tiny habit for them is find that space. And this is not just successful corporate women. This is extremely successful society women. They're on page 3s. They're large entrepreneurs, families, but they don't have a minute to themselves. Right? Why? Because they taught it selfish. Right? They taught it as selfish. A good girl rule. A good girl does not do stuff for herself. Right? So it is so difficult for them to do something for themselves.
Very true. Very true. Like, I'm really, really inspired. And, I think every time I talk to someone, especially you today, Namita, the perspective expands, right? You're thinking, you're looking at the same thing, but with a different perspective now, right? You're very true, because I think my entire 30s just went away like that.
Exactly.
It just went away. The 30s phase of your life, it just flies by, because you're focusing on work, you're focusing on your kids, and time just flies by.
Time just flies. I don't think I've done anything in my 30s that's just for me. I'm very happily asking this question to people now that I'm 45.
Now that you realize. And you don't want others to realize when it is too late. You want to realize early on.
I'm like, dude, I already made this mistakes. My 30s, not one moment I spent on myself. Right? And I'm not saying I am some example of a self-sacrificing missile of human beings. No, I'm not. Right?
It just happens.
It just happens. You're so busy. There is no time. You have a career. Your career is at its peak. Your child needs all your attention because a child is a baby. There's so many things to manage.
There's no time to even think of yourself.
Yeah. Which is why I love 40s. I love the silver hair. I've earned it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it looks great.
You're so kind. Thank you.
So you mentioned the word Nari Shakti. And like I said, every woman has her own perspective of what Nari Shakti is. So Namita, very curious to hear what you have to say. What is Nari Shakti to you?
That's such a beautiful question, right? I love, first of all, again, I love the word Nari Shakti. It is so empowering, right? I think typically you think of a woman as very delicate and very nurturing and, very kind. But here you've flipped it. You flipped it where you're saying, I see strength in you. I see power in you. Right? So for me, Nari Shakti is that power. The power to weave your own destiny with the threads you have and the threads you've built.
Weave your own
Right?
destiny.
It's the power to weave how your life is going to be. The power to take ownership behind, the car of that you're driving, right? To say that this is where I want to go, this is who I want to be, right? It is a woman having agency in her own life. It is so sad. Machines have agency, AI has agency, but so many of us women don't have agency. We don't have a say in our own lives. And if people say that, hey, I want to be a mother, I want to be a daughter, my identity is that, good for you. That's brilliant. But as long as that choice is yours and it was not just thrust upon you, right? So that agency. And I love for women to say Nari Shakti is the ability to do something beyond what you thought was immediately capable. Whatever it could be. It could be, baking, it could be dancing, it could be a thriving corporate career, it could be work in impact. But something that brings power and joy into your life, for me, that is Nari Shakti.
Very beautifully
Thank you.
said. I like the sense of, agency.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be in the driver's seat of your own life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
powerful. Very, very powerful. Thank you so much,
Thank
Namita.
you. Thank you so much.
I absolutely enjoyed this
You're so
conversation with
kind.
you. There's so much that I actually learned from this conversation. It's
you're
really
so
widened my
kind.
perspective,
Oh, you're
honestly.
so kind.
And, two things really stood out. The one that you said, we women are told we are a superwoman, right? We can do it all. And yes, so far I've actually looked at it in a very positive angle. But for the first time, you made me think of it the other way, right? You don't have to be that good girl, do it all person at all. It is okay to fail. It's okay to say no.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not be that perceived good girl.
Yeah, it's okay to say, I want to do this for myself. It's okay to say, beta, today your father will give you lunch because mommy wants to do XYZ. Maybe mommy wants to attend a Zumba class. Right? Maybe mommy wants to go for a training. Like I would turn down trainings if it was a weekend. I would say, no, sorry, I can't come. My daughter needs me. So people, my male colleagues will not even think twice. They're like, yeah, we'll go off-site, we'll go. So it's just, I feel it's almost like a shackle, like a golden shackle here. Like pure gold, wonderful.
But it is a shackle.
But it is a shackle, right? Because people are telling you you're a superwoman, you can do it all. But I don't think women can have it all. I actually don't. Right? I do think that it is, we can have it all, but just not at the same time.
Well, very true. Very true.
At some point of time, I think we need to concentrate on ourselves. There is a time that you need, your child really needs you. Your child is in school, let's say, 8 to 3:30. What are you doing then? You can do something then. Anything, small business, anything, but something for yourself, because I just feel bad when, you wake up at 40 and you're like,
most of my life has gone by and here I am.
yeah. And then you're lost, and then, I have so many women come to me and they're like, oh, we don't know what to do. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what to do? Right? They're just like, my kids don't need me anymore. My husband is independent all of a sudden. My in-laws don't need me. What am I to do? They have this vacuum, so some of them travel, some of them do. But then they come back and they're still in the same place. Right? So I'm like, okay, before it's too late, let's get you something to do.
True. And that is why, like Namita said, it's very important for us to carve out an identity that stays with us throughout, right? That's something that nobody can take away, right? If it's a designation, time might take it away. But having an identity that will last for the rest of our lifetime, that is something that we need to think about. And I like the tips that you shared. One, I'm going to recap is, take a moment to really think, what we are doing on a weekly basis for ourselves. Are we even doing something? If not, get into the habit of doing it. Invest in yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
You invest in gold,
absolutely.
you invest in everything else.
Yeah.
But how about investing in our own selves, right? We are the most important, the main character energy
Yeah, of
of our lives,
course.
right? So if it is not us, who else would it be, right? So it's time to change that narrative, which is why Namita and so many other wonderful women on our show are doing. So very, very inspiring show.
You're so
If
kind.
you think that this is something that another woman needs to hear, share it with her. And if you have any feedback, any comments, any suggestions, we are all ears. We'll be back with another Nari and her story. Until then, stay strong, stay bold, stay beautiful. See you then.